Hey YouTube, I just wanted to show off my latest project before it leaves my garage tomorrow morning for Emerald City Comic Con. My friend Michael Martin and myself have been working on a full-scale replica of the Millennium Falcon seating area. And we've had the assistance of a couple 501st members as well as some monetary donations from our 501st Garrison as well to help us complete this project. We're hoping to use it at various events to help raise money for charities. So the bench itself is going to go on to the 501st Legion here in Washington to hopefully be used again and again at various events. But I just wanted to give my subscribers a video just showing off the project and telling you a little more about it. So here we go. So we actually started with a blueprint from Empire Strikes Back of the actual seating area, and this let us scale our bench to be almost the exact same measurements of the original bench. And I came up with some 3D models of how we might split this thing apart. We decided we were going to split it into 5 separate sections so that we can pull it apart for transportation because we need to be able to move it around. So I modeled up these little sections and figured if we made 5 of these guys, one's a little smaller, but if we made 5 of them, put them all together, we'd end up with our full bench. So if you look at it, this thing actually bolts together. I've removed the bolts so these gaps are showing, but when they're bolted together, the gaps don't show. But you can see there's a gap sort of between each of the 5 sections, which lets us split this whole thing apart. And then we have the Ottoman, which is a separate piece as well. And so we're really happy with the scale of it. It's scaled nicely with my existing holochess table. I'm hoping to eventually make a table to go along with this bench setup that people can kind of lean on and play with without destroying the thing. This thing, you know, because it's functional, it's a little easy to screw up, and I don't really want kids pulling and tugging on things. So eventually I hope to have another one of these that lights up and is a little more sturdy. So another cool thing we're doing is we're actually showing the augmented reality monsters on a TV screen. And I know this TVs never really turn out very well on phones, but you can see the monsters there. And they'll move around occasionally, and they're all sort of doing their idle movement animations. And so people can actually get their photo taken. This runs off of this tablet that I have here on a mic stand. And you'll see if I sit down here at the table. There I am, and so people can sit at the table and it sort of looks like they're playing a game of holochess, and I can take their picture and upload it. So that should be fun for the convention goers, I'm hoping. So the bench is mostly constructed out of plywood. We used plywood for the whole frame, and then hardboard for the faces of the boxes and the backs of the seats. Let's see here. You can kind of see my plywood frame and the hardboard backs. And we put casters on them, split apart. We just bolt them together through some holes, bolt the top boxes on. It's pretty ugly in the back. All these greeblies I made myself. These ones were 3D printed, so I actually 3D printed all these buttons. And then these lights are plumbing parts with a acrylic orb I used. I cut these out and then put some colored cellophane and some cloth that diffuse the light behind it. And I made these little 3D printed housings for them. They're little plastic housings that the LEDs fit into that seem to work really well. And I use those for the small lights as well. And those, you'll see, it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but when they light up, they look pretty cool. This hose is just a regular old vacuum hose, but I sponged on some paint to kind of make it look old and gross, like the one in the film. And then I coated it in a rubberized coating, like a Flex Seal type coating to keep it from scratching off and help it endure a little longer. Just use regular pinstriping all around it, car pinstriping. And then these connections, the hose can come in and out of these holes. These are just, PVC plumbing parts. And it all kind of goes together pretty easily. So you see I got greeblies, metal greeblies all over it. They're kind of supposed to match those you see in the film. And the majority of these greeblies actually come from old projectors. So I took apart a few projectors and old cameras, which apparently is what they did in the original movies as well. So I just went and found some old film projectors from around the same period, took them apart, and ended up with a lot of cool looking greeblies I could use. So I actually only had one picture of the Ottoman, and this I found in the new Star Wars app. They have sort of this virtual reality experience. I think it's called Jakku Spy, and one of them you're on the Millennium Falcon, and I honestly could not find any good shots of the back of this Ottoman except for in that app, and so I kind of just roughly attempted to replicate what I saw. I'm not sure it's what's actually in A New Hope, but they did have a couple switches over here that I could see, a gray, white, gray, gray, and then over here I could see the gray, gray, white, white switches. So I figured that they had done everything else pretty accurately to A New Hope in the latest movie. So I figured I could probably model mine after the Episode 7 Ottoman. And I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. It looks very much like the photo. We don't have the circular details you see on the actual bench on ours, unfortunately. And that's mostly due to the fact that we wanted it to be comfortable. I didn't want to have to cast those out of EPS and make them hard and uncomfortable. We wanted them to be able to be sat on and by hundreds of people comfortably and not get it scratched up or anything. So the seat cushions are surprisingly comfortable. We bought a king-size mattress, cut it apart in each of the sections you see, and then I used some regular craft upholstery foam, 1 inch thick upholstery foam, to kind of create these sections you see going over here. And then I coated the whole thing in a few coats of liquid latex, which gives it this nice rubbery feel and also makes it a little more resilient to scratching and holes being poked in it and whatnot. It gives it sort of like a space leather feel. And then the backs themselves are sculpted in extruded polystyrene, which is that pink foam that you see, an insulation foam that they use for insulating walls. We cut each of these out and routed them all rounded with actually a 3D printed bit. So I actually 3D printed these bits that I used to cut these round on my drill press. And then we coat them in this great stuff called styro spray. And I actually painted it all on in probably 3 or 4 coats. And it gives it this great hard plastic feel. And it doesn't soak into the foam. So it's really cool stuff. It's also just an acrylic base, so it doesn't really smell bad. You don't really have to wear like a respirator or anything. So it was really nice. These boxes were completely 3D printed, aside from these metal pegs, which a friend of mine, Guy Evans, provided. He had these machined at his shop. The rest I actually 3D printed. I 3D printed the little metal cones you see here, and then put some rub and buff on them and ran them in my drill press to get them all nice and shiny. And I actually printed out each of these boxes rather than casting them because they're very detailed. I don't know if you can see it. And so it took me a while to get all these put together. And you can kind of see the extruded polystyrene behind here with this hard shell on it of the styro spray. Let's just fit in here. My lights, you'll see one blinking there. I actually have a sequence. They're programmed to kind of do things at random. I have all the lights on that were on in A New Hope, but occasionally other ones will turn on or blink. And then I also have a sound bite running that you might hear, which I'm running through a sound bar. And as you can see, occasionally it plays noises from the film. I thought it would be kind of fun if we had Han and Chewie saying phrases every once in a while in the background, so it kind of makes you feel like you're on the Falcon. But if you hear it, I've got kind of computer noises going, and then the subwoofer is a couple places over, making kind of a nice fan sound, so it matches up pretty well with the, makes you feel like you're in space, or the fan's on the bench or something, so when you sit down on it, it gets this nice rumble. The electronics were actually made using an Arduino Uno. And then I made some custom printed circuit boards like I did on my table, and they segment out to each of these boxes. They each have their own little console. And then the lights plug into these, and then I have a certain number of pins on here that do the random sequence where occasionally they'll blink or turn on and off, and so on. And the whole thing runs in just a USB battery, cell phone charging battery, and it lasts all day, so it's pretty great. I also put this little box we see in A New Hope. It's one of the Millennium Falcon's storage boxes. I thought it might be nice to carry stuff around in, so it actually has a opening in the back, and I can put some supplies and stuff in there if we need them. So that's just one nice thing, and then I put a little plaque down here too, just talking about the bench and showing the people that donated to it and whatnot. So, but anyway, I just wanted you all to see it before it's off. I wanted to talk a little bit about it so that if anyone wants to make one of these for their own man cave, maybe they'll get some ideas. Anyway, I just wanted you all to see this before I sent it off tomorrow morning to Emerald City. I do not think it's going to be coming back to my garage, so I want to take this opportunity to show you around it and let you know what's going on. Hoping to have something cool for you guys soon. I'm working on BB-8 over there, following the James Bruton build, and I might be working on another Salacious Crumb puppet, so I might post some more videos about that. But thanks for subscribing, and hope you enjoyed this. See ya.